Caicedo to Arsenal. Obviously, we saw a £60 million bid this morning put in. I was very disappointed. The stream was going brilliantly, and then Ornstein tweeted it been rejected, and the stream just went everyone was like, no more excitement around it. But Premsy, to you again on him, is this if you get this over the line, is that it? Is the title yours if you sign this level of midfielder to bolster your ranks, having already got Trossard and a new centre back in as well?
I wouldn't say it's ours, but it gives us a massive help towards that title, 100%, because the one thing that we've been struggling with is squad depth, and we know we're competing with Man City. They've got the know-how how to win the title. They won 4 out the last 5, and they can literally bring on their B team, and a lot of it will probably match up to our A team. So, in quality-wise, so you gotta look at it and think if we do bring him in, then the board are backing Arteta. They really believe that we can go on and win the title. Otherwise, they won't be trying to spend this kind of money in January, because Arsenal, they don't really normally spend too much money in January. They normally make the big moves in summer, obviously barring a few with likes of Sanchez and Aubameyang and stuff like that. But we don't really make massive signings. But this is what we need to do, Terry. This is what we need. We need to bring these players in now, because it is all good and well thinking, you know what, if we had a midfielder in and Shaka got injured or Partey got injured, this could have happened, that could have happened. Bring the midfielder in. If we lose it, we lose it. You get me? But there's no doubts, there's no regrets. We know that the squad is there and it can compete. We brought in a centre back, we brought in Trossard, and if we can bring in a midfielder, whether it's Caicedo or another midfielder, that's exactly what we need to do, because the likes of Eddie Nketiah are stead up. He's filled Jesus' boots. A lot of fans probably here as well were thinking when Jesus gets injured, that's it for Arsenal. They're going to fall off. Eddie Nketiah ain't really going to do it. But Eddie Nketiah stepped up, and he's shown, myself included, that he can be that guy to get the goals. Now there's a question when Jesus comes in, who's going to start, Eddie or Jesus? So it's kind of problems that we need to have, and the good problems to have. The more players that you have in that can help you with that title push. And I think with Arteta being around Pep for a long time and in that dressing room and knowing how to get over the line and win in certain extents, he will know that it's far from over. We have to bring bodies in. So it's good that we're being linked to him. But whether we'll sign him or not, bro, I'll be honest, it's looking a bit of a sticky one. I can't see Arsenal paying more than 75 mil for him. And it looks like Brighton want quite a pretty penny for him. So we're going to have to wait and see.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I think Arsenal this January are learning from their mistakes of last January. Last January, 100. They were in a prime position to get top 4. Obviously, Tottenham just got a new manager. Man United were a mess. And they should have gone out and got a striker, which is what they needed. Didn't go out and get that, and they just missed out on top 4. They're in a position now where, and obviously in hindsight, you might say, all right, we didn't get top 4, but we didn't get a striker. But in the summer, we then got Jesus, etc. And now we're fighting for a title. Yes, the opportunity to get top 4 would always come again. And also the opportunity to win a title can always come again. But there's no guarantee next season Arsenal will be in this position that they're in now. You have to strike while the iron's hot. Yes, you didn't get Modric, and I felt if you're willing to pay 95, you should have been willing to pay 100. But of course, Chelsea might have bumped up to 120. We don't know how far they were willing to go. But you didn't get him, and you went and got Trossard. The importance of strengthening this squad right now, while you're in this position, 5 points clear of a game in hand, you have to go out and get someone. And if Arteta midfielder, I'm not saying break the bank and mess up everything in terms of getting Caicedo, but if you don't get Caicedo for whatever price that you set, like you did with Trossard, go and get someone, because if come the end of the season you get 90 points, and Man City get 91, you say, well done, great going, lads, and the next season you finish 3rd. So it's like you need to do it now.
This is what I was saying. There's no one's a fortune teller. No one can say what's going to happen next season, who's going to be in the Champions League, who's not, who's going to be in the running. But right now, you can only speak on the present. And as an Arsenal fan, I'm looking at the situation thinking there's news come out that Mohamed El Nene is being injured and he could potentially be out for the rest of the season, which isn't good news at all. And that leaves us very short in midfield. Arteta's actually come out and he's been open and said, we do need cover in midfield. We are looking for a signing. And it's positive to hear, as an Arsenal fan, it's positive to hear that Arteta's actually coming out and voicing his concerns. That's aligning up to what the fans are. And if we can bring him in, like I said, bro, it'll be happy days. There'll be no regrets in it. If we lose it, we lose it. We lost it to a better team. But it is what it is, man.
In terms of the deal, so this is what kind of a roundup of this afternoon's reports is that Brighton and Arsenal are still negotiating. And I mean, that tells you they're willing to sell, because it wouldn't be a negotiation unless they weren't willing to sell. I know there's a lot of Brighton journalists saying it's not for sale, stop bidding, it isn't going to happen. But one journalist has gone on to say that Patrick Berger has said that Arsenal were keen to improve on their £60 million offer. Cal, like when you look at the finances that Arsenal are investing in him, he's valued on the market at about 30 to 35 million. They're looking to pay pretty much double that. Do you think that matters? Are they overpaying for the player? Or is this just a case of money doesn't matter, get it done? And if so, is Caicedo good enough to move the needle at Arsenal, in your opinion?
Oh, two good questions, Terry. Me personally, I've always been of the mindset that if you want a player, then again, within reason, that's the price of the player. It's not necessarily their market value. Very rarely do you get a player for market value or below market value. You usually always have to end up overpaying. You're buying an asset from someone else who doesn't necessarily want to sell that asset. So you're always going to have to pay more of a markup. I don't think we'll know the true answer to the first question, Terry, until he's there and we see where they finish this season or how he performs. But if you look at what they've got in midfield now and you add Caicedo to that, then you're definitely doing the right thing. You're going in the right direction. And Nick said it before. I'll also speak as a Liverpool fan where we've had chances to win the league or win certain competitions. And in January, we kind of slept on the team or the squad and then ended up coming short. As Premsy said, you're better off going all out and trying to win it and trying to bolster while you're hot rather than sitting back on your laurels and thinking, I'll take a little risk here. For me, there's less of a risk in paying the money for Caicedo than not paying the money for Caicedo at this point. In terms of what he does in moving the needle for Arsenal, I personally think he takes Arsenal up a level. Again, no disrespect to Arsenal, I think you take Partey out of the team, especially with how he's playing at the moment, and they could become very vulnerable in midfield. What he allows you to do is rotate Partey now, but also allows you to play a double pivot if you want, and Odegaard as a 10. He allows you to play on the right-hand side as an 8 or the left-hand side as an 8. He comes in and he covers 2 of the 3 midfield positions, and he does it very well to a high level. He's still young, very mobile, very quick, strong, good on the ball, got an eye for goal. I don't think Arsenal are doing anything silly here. I think it makes a lot of sense them going for this type of player and this profile.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good piece of business. Obviously, from a City point of view, Nobbins, you haven't bought anybody in. They're clear of you right now. This has been a bad January from your perspective, that your biggest rivals for the title have strengthened 3 key areas. And again, if they get Caicedo over the line, it's 3 key areas. The strength in depth question is therefore answered. How are you feeling about it from that point of view?
Well, to be honest, I mean, it's out of City's hands at the end of the day. Like, if Arsenal want to sign players, they're going to sign players. From a City perspective, I don't think City need to bring anyone in, really. I think they just need to get the current players back to the form of like last season and the season prior. So it's obviously, from a City perspective, a shame that Arsenal are involved in these exciting deals. Like, I know the Modric one didn't come up, but such as that one, and now Caicedo, Trossard's come in as well. But I think that all City can do is just focus internally and focus on themselves. As I say, there's nothing City can't really. Well, I guess City could influence it by arbitrarily bidding for Caicedo for no reason just to spite Arsenal, but that's obviously not happening. Yes, I guess a little bit worrying, because I guess the thing that rival fans been clinging on to is that their depth isn't good enough. A couple injuries, they'll fall apart. But they've clearly they're clearly rectifying the areas of their team and squad depth which need improving. So yeah, obviously a worry, but honestly, I was worried about Arsenal even without Caicedo.
I get that. But you could respond yourselves, because you guys ain't playing very well, and you've got a lot of players that are underperforming. You're not playing very well. I had Big Steve on yesterday, and I know that doesn't mean you have to agree with him because he's a City fan, but I said we're not at our best. We're not playing, and that isn't taking nothing away from Arsenal. But I've watched every City game this year. You've had some matches where you've looked brilliant, but you've looked vulnerable, in my opinion, in 90% of your games. You've got Luke Chadwick, who carries the ball well, but does very little else with it on the left-hand side. And
I just caught what you said.
He is Luke Chadwick, and we know why I call him Luke Chadwick is because City would win titles with or without him. He's an irrelevant piece of the jigsaw. He's just there. Like, he's better looking than Luke Chadwick. That's all Jack Grealish has got. But yeah, like, you could buy someone to improve this City team. That's what you've done before.
But who? What position?
So that's what I was going to chime in. I think you could do with a tricky winger, to be honest, because look, I'm a big fan of Haaland, a massive fan actually. Even annoyed that you guys got him, but I think to get the best out of him, you need a Sane type player. Like when Mahrez isn't playing, it feels though your approach play is really slow. And I know Mahrez and him haven't necessarily clicked until quite recently, but as things stand right now, it's sort of like you just hold a deep line against Man City and you just kind of watch Haaland, where you haven't got that winger who can maybe take a defender or two out of the game, create a bit more space for Haaland, and then he just gets on the ends of things and does what he does best. I think if you had a Sane, even a Sterling, who could just get in and amongst some of the goals from the wide areas or give the defense something else to think about. Foden's fantastic. I think Grealish is a lot better than what people give him credit for. Mahrez is excellent on his day, but I think you're lacking that true winger that really puts the fear of God into the other team.
Saka only has a year or so left in his contract. They're your title rivals. Go and get him in it. Put the money.
Your glasses are steaming up, fam. You allow it, fam. You allow it. I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
I'll be honest though. If Arsenal didn't have a good season this season, I think Saka would have been off there.
Nah, no way, bro. He's an Arsenal boy through and through, man. It's not happening. I'm telling you.
Andy Gordon's yeah.
I'm not sure I agree with Terry's thing of City aren't playing well that season. We're only 2 points worse off compared to last season. I think that's actually a little bit downplaying what Arsenal have achieved. Let's look at the Premier League table. Arsenal are currently setting Centurion pace. We're halfway through the season. They've got 50 points. City of last season would be behind Arsenal by 3 points. We're only 2 points worse off. There have been, I accept there have been some lackluster performances, which I can't really explain. But at the same time, I do think it is getting a little bit blown out of proportion. We've scored more goals compared to last season. The issue, I'm not sure I agree with it being a winger issue, because I think Grealish and Mahrez have been some of our best players. The issue is the issue is a defensive one. We've conceded 8 more goals compared to last season. And if you look at City games, most of the time it's from really weird individual errors. For example, you think of the Liverpool game, Cancelo for no reason drops a clanger and just allows Salah to go through. In the Everton game, Rodri gives the ball away in midfield for no reason. I know it was in the League Cup against Southampton. Sergio Gomez gives away the ball for no reason, and then Ortega's off his line. So I don't really agree that City have been really bad this season, or really bad compared to last season. They've not been as good as last season, 100%. But even if City were as good as they were last season, Arsenal would still be in the lead in the Premier League table, because they've been nothing short of excellent.
They would. I'm not taking anything away from Arsenal. I'm talking purely about when I watch City. And yeah, sometimes you look at how many goals you've scored, what you conceded, the points, that gives you an idea. I'm talking about a drop in the perspective and the spectrum of a title race, not comparing you to everybody else, because you're still better than everybody else but Arsenal. You're still better than Man United, even though we beat you the other day. But when I've watched City play this year, you don't seem to hold on to the ball as well. You seem less dominant in games, less scary, and easier to attack and get to. And I think that part of that is getting used to playing with a poacher type striker who runs off the shoulder like Haaland. And maybe you could have done with somebody else. I'll tell you who I think could do brilliantly for you playing behind him. As an example, someone like a James Maddison, someone that can give you a little bit of extra creative flair, can help link the play up a little bit better, hold the ball up in those areas. And that's just an example for you. But I kind of look at it like, if Arsenal go on to win this league now, and a big part of it is these 3 signings that give them that strength. If you guys have just sat there on your hands, you could have reacted to it as well. As much as you could bemoan Arsenal last year and say, well, they should have gone and got a striker, they'd have made top 4. If you guys don't respond and don't act and don't bring somebody else in to improve these areas, you could be not giving away a title, because that's disrespectful. But I don't know if you're City with the money you've got, and however it is you get your money, that you can buy whenever you want. Just buy someone. Do you know what I mean? For me, I'd be screaming at my club to improve further, to win that 3-peat, because a 3-peat it's the greatest. It's the greatest achievement club-wise in Premier League history. Winning 3 on the bounce. Only 2, doing it is so difficult and so hard, and you got the opportunity of matching what one other team has done, and you may be about to get pipped. And I think you maybe should just thrown a bit more at it. And you see Arsenal spending 60, maybe more than 60. It's probably going to be somewhere nearer to £70 million plus on Caicedo, nearly 30 million on Trossard. I just feel like City should be doing something similar as well, in my opinion.
Do you know what, Terry? Obviously, I'm gonna have to get off in a couple of minutes or so because I'm gonna be going to the Arsenal City game as well. So just to give City a little bit of back in there, I think the difference between Arsenal and City, yeah, I understand that people might think they're not playing the same kind of ways, just because for me, it's down to a new style of play, a new system fitting Haaland in the team. I think Arsenal have had to go out and buy these players. We don't have that squad depth where City do. It's just the players ain't performing at the same kind of levels that we're being accustomed to. So I don't think City are going to probably struggle too tough, because when it comes to the summer window, players like Silva, maybe Godogan, a few other players might leave, and that's probably where they're going to do their business. But I think it's totally different, man. I think Arsenal, they just got to get their credit as well. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Arsenal fan and being biased. I think we have actually been the best team in the league. And is it Nobby? Nobbins? Oh, sorry, my bro. Obviously, like he said, it's just they're 2 points off where they were last season. And it's just probably down to what Arsenal's doing right now.
I mean, what I would say is no one can accuse me of not giving Arsenal credit this year. I've actually been abused for giving them too much credit, which is crazy.